Yes, sir.
Yeah, so today we are going to start regarding the translation. So there was some confusion with respect to the allotted topic. So I will not continue with the transcription part, and I will start with your unit 3, which is related more towards proteomics and protein translation. Okay, so we'll start that. So what do you know about translation? Have you people studied that previously?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what do you know about it? Like what is the peculiar characteristic of translation?
So it's a process by which proteins are formed.
Okay. And like what is the major difference between the prokaryotic and eukaryotic translation? Any idea on that front? So
No, sir.
prokaryotic translation occurs at one place only, whereas eukaryotic translation occurs in compartments. So what does it mean? When you say compartments, your DRNA, like DNA will be synthesized, and from DNA, mRNA will be synthesized, and mRNA will come out of the nucleus, and then it will be getting translated in the cytoplasma, and then it will be distributed wherever it is necessary, depending on the signal peptide to which it is attached. So that is how it is done in eukaryotes, whereas prokaryotes, there is no such thing. It is get translated and transcribed also in the same compartment which is in the cytoplasm. Now, what exactly happens when we say translation? It is a protein synthesis and accomplished, like protein synthesis accomplished by a process, which is we all know by translation. After the DNA is transcribed into mRNA, that molecule of mRNA must be translated to produce a protein. So this is generally happens. Your mRNA along with tRNA and ribosomes will work together to produce proteins. So when you have your final product of gene expression by a polypeptide chain whose sequence was prescribed by a genetic code, that thing is called as translation. Now when you have single ribosome, it is single ribosome process or single mRNA translation. When you have multiple ribosomes, you have polyribosomes present in that. So you have simultaneously synthesis going on at a time. So generally, what exactly happens when you have translation? Translation occurs at a speed which is same as transcription. So what does that mean? Like what is the meaning of that? Like for example, if you are synthesizing 40 nucleotides per minute, then translation will occur at 15 amino acids per minute because we have triplet of codon which is corresponding to a single amino acid. And when the process exactly starts, so for example, your mRNA, in case of prokaryotes, I'm talking especially, in case of prokaryotes, your translation begins at say 0 minute. Sorry, transcription begins at 0 minute, and by the end of 2.5 to 3 minutes, your transcription and translation is over. So somewhere around 1.5 to 2 minutes, your transcription is finished, and after that, in zero point 0.5 minutes, you have simultaneously translation going on, and then by the end of 2 to 2.5 minutes, your mRNA and everything is degraded, and you are just having set of proteins which needs to be having some kind of biological function. So this is how it occurs in case of prokaryotes. So it is time bound process. What I'm trying to stress out over here, it is time bound process. So in very small amount of time, in say femtoseconds, this occurs. What are the steps do we have under translation? Have you people studied that? What are the key components do we have? We have a mRNA from a genomic DNA. Okay. Then we need a transfer RNA to transport amino acids because transfer RNA is the thing which binds to your mRNA, and it has a amino acid at one of the end which will be utilized to form a polypeptide. Okay. Then we need a ribosome to read the mRNA. So once you have mRNA to which your tRNA is bound, your ribosome will have three places over there. The first place will be utilized for the recognition of tRNA and mRNA. The second place will be utilized for joining your polypeptide. The third place where your tRNA will be exiting that particular codon. Ribosomes, which we have, it is having two subunits composed of protein and a ribosomal RNA. And RNA structural component of ribosome subunit, rRNA, is present in that. So, what are the components do we have under prokaryotes? Any idea? This is of eukaryote.
Sir, in prokaryotes, it will be 30s and 40s.
Okay. And apart from that, is it 30 and 40 or 30 or 30 and 50?
Thirty and 50, sir. I
30 and
don't know.
50. And that is S stands for what? You guys aware of it?
Svedberg units.
Exactly, Swedberg units. The prokaryotic ribosome, it contains 3 RNA strands and in all it contains 52 protein subunits. Remember that. And that could be divided into two parts. First part, which contains 21 protein, it is a small ribosomal unit, okay, which comprises of 38 subunit. And the another part, which has 31 proteins present in that, it comprises of your 50s or the larger subunit. The small subunit location starts and moves along the RNA, whereas your large subunit contains amino acid transferase enzyme. So that amino acid transferase enzyme will help to join the amino acid which was present in your tRNA at particular end, and it will help in transferring that and making a polypeptide chain. Neither subunit is sufficient to carry out translation by itself. They must come together. So you need to have a combination of 30 and 50s, and that forms your 70s ribosome for translation. So far clear? So that Swedberg unit which we are talking about over here, it is a measurement of sedimentation rate when the molecules are centrifuged under standard condition. So that centrifugation unit is Swedberg's unit, for which we define it by as a 40s or a 30s or a 80s or a 70s. Okay. Now remember that in case of prokaryotes, you have 30s and 50s. So 30s is your smaller unit, obviously, which comprises of 21 proteins, and 50s is your larger unit, which is comprising of 31 units. When both of them come together, then only the activity of translation will start. Any doubts so far?
No, sir.
So the tRNA which we have in that is our small, extremely stable RNA structure shaped like clover leaf due to internal base pairing. So you must have seen the structure of tRNA, right? This is the tRNA structure. Okay. Now at this end you have a phosphate, and that's this end you have a OH. Okay. Now as you could see, the pairing occurs between GC, GC, AU, UA, UA. So this is a complementary base pairing, and we also call it as a hairpin loop like structure. Now, the importance over here is this part, anticodon loop. Okay, all of you have studied Vobel hypothesis.
Yes, so I guess we
Yeah. So,
in
what
our
is a Vobel hypothesis? Do we have anything to do with the Vobel hypothesis during translation? Is it important over here?
also, as you said, I guess like the GC pairing and AU pairing is dependent upon that hypothesis.
Okay. And with respect to codon anticodon binding, there is any hypothesis like that?
So even that comes under the part of verbal hypothesis only, so
Yeah.
the codon and
This
anticodon binding.
yeah. So the GC pairing and AT pairing doesn't come under Vobel. It is related with your formation of like your single or a multiple codons rather than that triplet of codon uh, comprising or giving out many different or the same kind of amino acids. For example, your leucine could be coded by six different types of codon, and that is the magic behind translation, because even if there is small error between any of the codon, like in triplet of codon, if your third codon is not the same and it is something different, still it will code for the leucine only, and henceforth your protein product or a final product is still going to be the same. It is not going to be the different product. And that is how, because there will be always going to be an error during translation, and if the Vobel hypothesis was not there, then every single time your protein, whenever there is a mismatching of the codon will occur, either it will terminate depending whether it is a stop codon, or it will form a different kind of amino acid in that position which will be not functional, or which may cause a mutation, and that leads to some abnormality in the protein because of the third position was not stronger or not proper, and henceforth your amino acid which is contributing in the polypeptide will be different. So that doesn't happen, right? Because we don't see that often. So that is the advantage which we have when we have a Vobel hypothesis. Now, the tRNA, it attaches to the 3' end of the amino acid attaches to the 3' end of tRNA, and tRNA in turn can base pair with the codon in the mRNA at the anticodon as a part. So this is your anticodon, and your mRNA has a codon, right? What happens further? After this, what is the next part? We'll just start from, like, first of all, just okay, I have okay. We'll just go with the flow. Okay. Now, what are the steps do we have in translation? What is the first step? Your ribosomal subunit binds to your mRNA, whether it is prokaryotic translation or a eukaryotic translation. This is the first step, right? After that, ribosome will move along the mRNA. So, if this is your ribosome, it will move along the mRNA, okay, and starts forming your polypeptide chain. And when ribosome reaches the stop codon, which is UAA, UAG, and UGA, okay, it terminates into protein synthesis and releases the ribosome. So ribosome is free, and it can be used for another kind of translation cycle. So these are the basic steps which occur in which your tRNA plays a major role. So your tRNA, what it does, it binds to your codon part, and that specific codon recognizes a specific area on a mRNA which is mRNA part like a codon and an anticodon. Once the anticodon and codon matches, then it gives a signal to that tRNA. Okay, the polypeptide, the amino acid, which kind of amino acid should bind to the growing chain of polypeptide. Now, translation occurs in the cytoplasma, and after leaving the nucleus, it should undergo many translational modifications. Okay, so mRNA do not code for amino acid, and that part is intron. Remember that. So whenever your translation occurs, before that your mRNA needs to be processed. So you have a step called as, which I was explaining in transcription, you have a step called as pre-mRNA and then mRNA. That mRNA will be utilized in the translation. Always remember that. So whatever DNA was there, from DNA you have a mRNA, that pre-mRNA, sorry, that pre-mRNA is comprising of your introns and exons. Introns needs to be removed, then you will have a set of exons. Those exons will be utilized in the translation process. Once the messenger RNA has been modified, it will be utilized in this translation process. Then the charged tRNA will attach to peptide bond. So regarding this charging of tRNA, I will explain over here. So what happens? An individual tRNA specific to single amino acids. So at least we have 20 different tRNAs, because we have like now we have more than 22 amino acids as of now. But like syllabus wise or theoretically, we are still sticking to 20 amino acids. You have different tRNA sets. So what is the charging process during the translation? It is a process where your amino acid is bind to tRNA, and this charging is accomplished by amino acid tRNA synthesis, which is one of like which is it is specific for particular amino acid. So for glutamyl, it will be glutamyl amino acid tRNA synthesis. For leucine, it is leucine amino acid tRNA synthesis, and so on. What is the major difference between prokaryotes versus eukaryotes? The process of translation is little bit complicated in eukaryotes, obviously, because there is a compartmentalization. Okay, but in case of prokaryotes, all everything happens in the single compartment, which is the cytoplasm. Now, I have just explained about this part. Like we have three steps. Whether you are doing it for prokaryotes or you are doing it for eukaryotes, steps remains the same. Okay. So we'll just talk in terms of point. Okay, so what exactly happens during translation? The first step, small ribosomal subunit attaches to the mRNA molecule. Okay, small subunit will attaches to the mRNA molecule, and at the same time, initiated tRNA molecule recognizes and binds to a specific codon sequence. So at the same time, this initiated tRNA will binds to the starting codon. This USA will bind to starting codon, and remember that majority of the time your starting codon is always AUG, and AUG codes for what
Methionine, sir.
exactly? So at the same time, so first step is your smaller subunit binds to mRNA. At the same time, your initiated tRNA will go and bind to AUG, and a larger subunit of ribosome then joins to form a newly formed complex. So first your smaller subunit, the upper part, and initiated tRNA will join. Then your ribosomal subunit, larger subunit will go and join to that newly formed complex, and the initiation occurs. The binding occurs at the P site and leaving the second site A, which is open. So first is your P site. Okay. So first is your P site. Okay. So this is the larger subunit. This is smaller subunit. Okay. So this is the first step where the first binding occurs of tRNA. So your A site is open for the next set of amino acid. Okay. Now, after that, your next tRNA will go and bind to A site and it will go towards right side. Okay. So once ribosome is moving towards right side, the earlier UAC, which was for the starting codon, it will be released from P site. And this for which one is present for proline, for example, in this case, it will be shifted to P site. So this is a continuous process. So first of all, your tRNA will come and bind to P site, then like smaller subunit of ribosome will come, then tRNA will come, then tRNA with a specific amino acid obviously, then your larger subunit will come and it will start going ahead. So once it moves ahead, okay, there will be a vacant position at P site because from A site, whatever was present at the P site, the tRNA present at the P site, it will be released. So this happens every single time. Okay. So this is a continuous process. So this is the P site, this is the A site, and this is the larger subunit. Okay, it binds over here. So far any doubt? कुछ नहीं समझा है मैं फिर से बताऊं.
No doubt, sir.
Okay. So you could see this part, right? The PPT part.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So first what happens? The gray color part is your smaller subunit. Remember that. This is the starting initiated codon AUG to which your tRNA will go and bind. And after that, this larger subunit, it will go and bind over here. So in that we have a P site and a A site. Okay. Now, once this binding occurs, the methionine will bind to proline in the next step. When the next amino acid will come, sorry, along with the tRNA at the A site, the first one which was present at the P site will be released and then ribosome will move ahead and again it will form a chain over here. And same way, unless and until it reaches the stop codon, this process is going to keep happening. So then another tRNA will move into a site in order to add another amino acid to the peptide chain. Whatever was present at the P site will be released and so on. So this is a continuous process. So generally this happens. So this is a growing polypeptide chain. You have a amino end at this. So the first amino acid was there at this third position, for example, then it will grow and next amino acid like tRNA will come into picture. It will be released. Then fifth amino acid will come into picture. So this is the representation in this way. Okay. The fourth amino acid will be joining to the polypeptide. The tRNA will be released. The fifth amino acid will join and it will be released. So this is the step. So you have a mRNA to which your tRNA is bound. Then at the fourth position, amino acid tRNA will come into picture and it will help joining of third and fourth. So the tRNA which was present at the third position will be released and the tRNA which was present at the fourth position at the A site will be shifted to the P site over here. Then next amino acyl tRNA will come and then it will bind to your A site. It will form a bonding between fourth and fifth amino acid. Then which was present at the fourth site, it will be released, which is your P site. So this is a continuous process. And when ribosome encounters your stop codon, okay, which is UAA, UGA, UGA or UAG, okay, there is no tRNA attached to the ribosome and it separates. So that is the signaling part where ribosome encounters your stop codon. At that time, your protein synthesis is finished, your translation is finished, and the polypeptide which you have can further undergo, depending on its location, it can undergo protein modification or it can undergo translational modification, which is called as protein translational modification after that, and then it will leave. So what happens exactly during elongation? The tRNA which needs to be released, it will go to the P site always. And the newer tRNA with the amino acid transferase enzyme, synthesis enzyme, sorry, it will come at the A site. So this pattern continues unless and until your ribosome encounters the stop codon over here, where your tRNA is no longer having any amino acid bound to it. This is how actual translation occurs. Okay, this is just a representation. Now, what is the major difference between prokaryotes and eukaryotes? So, like I have said earlier, prokaryotes doesn't have compartmentalization. So, as you could see over there, there is a DNA and mRNA is forming from the DNA in one of the step. Okay, to which multiple ribosomes are attached. Okay, and it is forming a polypeptide over here. So there is no compartmentalization. But where in case of eukaryotes on the right hand side, what you could see from DNA you are getting primary transcript. That primary transcript will be processed and it will form your functional mRNA. So that primary transcript is your pre-mRNA. Then mRNA will be transported out of the nucleus and then it will be bound by the set of ribosomes and then it will start forming your polypeptide. Okay, so this is the major difference between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So in case of prokaryotes, there is a direct translation occurs after transcription. So like there is no post-translational or post-transcriptional modification, anything of that sort. Your mRNA is never modified in case of prokaryotes. And transcription and translation also takes place in the same area. So your protein need not to be moved, mRNA need not to be moved from anywhere else in the another organelle or another area of the cytoplasm, and it should be translated. It is not required in case of prokaryotes. So it can happen at the same place, like there is no compartmentalization over there. So there are no different parts where you need to do your transcription first and then it should be moved along with some signal peptide to a position where it can be translated. Now, this is just an example what exactly happens in the reality in the image. So what you could see over here, this is the starting codon. Okay, so this is a smaller subunit to which your larger subunit binds and then translation will occur, okay, in this fashion. And I have not shown like tRNA is not there, okay, but this is just a representation, okay, and this is how then once the polypeptide chain it encounters the stop codon over here, as you could see, then your ribosomes will be released as a smaller and larger one, and this completed polypeptide chain will be getting folded into the required structure and it will be utilized depending whether it is prokaryote, then it could be utilized directly. If it is a eukaryote, then obviously it will go under post translational modifications. Now in case of eukaryotes, what is the major difference? Transcript is modified before leaving the nucleus. Remember that it has a cap at the 5' end and poly A tail at the 3' end. So is there any particular reason why it is having a capping? Is there any particular reason why there is a capping at the 5' end and 3' poly A tail in case of eukaryotic mRNA after transcription?
So only by capping we can like the pre-mRNA is, what do you call it? The pre-mRNA is processed to mRNA, and the capping is because so that it prevents the mRNA from attack of certain nucleases.
Yeah. So exactly. So that capping, though the attack will occur, it will not degrade your mRNA, which needs to be translated. Okay. So the capping will help in that way. So poly-A tail will help for the joining purpose of the translation first of all, whereas capping will help in the avoiding any kind of degradation by the nucleases. Okay. Now translation takes place on the ribosome located in the rough endoplasmic reticulum. So you all must have studied RER and ACR, right? The types of smooth endoplasmic reticulum and rough endoplasmic reticulum, right? So this is the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. So this is the ribosome. So this is how it occurs. Okay. So this happens in the cytoplasma. Okay. So your mRNA is there to which ribosomes will bind over here. So this is the like it is the same what you could say A and B are the same images, only over here it is shown in the circular fashion. So how does the free protein will be released in the cytoplasma at the end? So your ribosomes will bind at this position and then it will start forming your polypeptide and ultimately it will be released. So always it is going to be polyribosomes in case of prokaryotes also. Now what is the main difference? Whenever your prokaryotes and eukaryotes processing will occur in terms of translation, uh, what we have to see that what kind of ribosomes are important, what is the position of the ribosome, then what are the key components which are involved, where in case of prokaryotes obviously the key components which are involved are less and the factors also which are involved are less, but in case of eukaryotes the number of factors which are involved are much more. Okay, so that is the major thing. Just to give you a brief idea, these are the set of antibiotics which we generally use to uh, make our life better when we have a attack of certain organisms which are pathogenic in nature. So tetracyclines, what exactly it does? It goes and blocks the attachment of tRNA, amino acid tRNA, at the A site of the ribosome. So this is how it acts. So basically, your second step of translation at the position A will be blocked by tetracycline. So protein synthesis doesn't occur in a bacteria, and hence for bacteria will ultimately die. Then the action of erythromycin, it blocks the movement of ribosome itself during the mRNA. So once the ribosome is not moving, though it is having proper amino acid at the amino acid tRNA at the A site, and already your P site is vacant, and your polypeptide is having few chain of amino acids present in that. But as it can't go forward, obviously the translation will not occur, and this is how erythromycin works. The streptomycin forms the formation of initiation complex itself and causes miscoding. So was what example by this? Uh, it stops the formation between ribosome, larger ribosome, smaller ribosome, and initial tRNA binding. Then the next is rifamycin. It blocks the transcription by binding to the RNA polymerase itself. So it binds to the RNA polymerase and it doesn't allow transcription only to occur. So there is no point of translation over here. Okay. So far, any doubts?
No, sir.
So what is the book which you people are referring, or you like? There is a gene which you could refer by Benjamin, and you could also refer iGenetics. I will mostly prefer iGenetics. Molecular approach I am talking about, not the Russell, like the other with which